जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. So welcome everyone to our online session on Bhagavad Gita, and we've been discussing the importance of bhakti, the importance of in the last session we discussed about how practicing bhakti can change our life potentially, and we saw it from the example of Arjuna, who was bewildered, who was crying at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, and by the time we reached 10th chapter he was peaceful, he was composed, he was a learned person, and he could compose beautiful prayers for Lord Krishna at the end of that session, at the end of ninth chapter, beginning of end of Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, that is 10.11 verse, and 10.12 onwards, Arjuna starts glorifying Krishna. So we learn in last couple of sessions how we can practically implement teachings from Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us the principles of bhakti, कि भक्ति में हमें क्या करना चाहिए, and Krishna teaches us those principles, and having learned those principles, having applied those principles in our day-to-day life, our life can also change, our life can become more peaceful, we can be in better control of our mind, we can make better discrimination, make better choices in life, and we can be happy. All the three things we need a healthy, peaceful life, we need to discriminate properly and make right choices in our life, and we want to be happy, and all the three objectives can be easily achieved by practically implementing teachings from Bhagavad Gita. So today we will talk about a different topic, a slightly variant different topic, that this bhakti lata bij that is received by us, we are practicing devotees, we know certain things, we have been able to put in practice certain things, there are other things which are required for us to do, and we can be cognizant of those things, that मैंने इतना किया है, मुझे पता चला है, बट मैंने इतना किया है और मुझे आगे काफी दूर तक जाना है, so that I can perfect my life in this one lifetime and I can go back to Krishna at the end of this lifetime, so that the human form of life is properly utilized, it's not wasted. So I don't want to become krupana. ये जो है वो है कि वो कैट्स एंड डॉग्स जैसा लाइफ जी लेता है, जैसे कैट्स डॉग्स हॉग्स जीते हैं, वे वैसे ही करता है, वो सेंस इंद्रियों के लिए, इंद्रिय तृप्ति के लिए पूरा लाइफ बर्बाद कर देता है, एंड दे नेवर इंक्वायर, एंड दोज that dog, cat and hog don't have capacity to inquire, humans have capacity to inquire, but when you have capacity but when you don't utilize it, you are called kripana. So we don't want to be that, and having got this much knowledge, we thought it will be a good idea for us to again take a step back and understand how significant this process of bhakti is for us. So today's topic is be an expert gardener, bhakti lata bij. So kaisa hai? Let's find out. So today we'll talk about Rupa Goswami a little bit. Rupa Goswami, we are all called Rupa Gunas, Rupa Nugas. Rupa Nugas are the followers of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is the leader, though leader of the pack, the 6 Goswamis who were sent to Vrindavan by Lord Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami is kind of their leader, even though Sanatan Goswami is elder brother of Rupa Goswami. But by 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 mercy, I think Rupa Goswami is considered to be the leader of our movement. And so we'll hear a little bit about him. Then we will talk about evolution of consciousness. ये evolution of consciousness क्या होता है? Then becoming a devotee is so rare. That's we'll look at that aspect. Then we'll talk about actual bhakti lata bij. वो क्या होता है? Watering the seed with hearing and chanting, and we will look at some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand the last 3 points, bullets. Let's start with understanding some background of Rupa Goswami, which is very important at this stage, because Rupa Goswami is, as I mentioned, we are called Rupa Nugas. We are all followers of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is the one who has written elaborately about bhakti. the scientific way, the most scientific way the bhakti has been elaborated, explained by Rupa Goswami, and he was specially empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to do this seva, to do this service. Sitting in Vrindavan, he did this. And he written many books, and the couple of books which we will study in the course of our this online classes or later offline classes are the nectar of instruction and nectar of devotion, which are considered to be the most important two books of bhakti principle, of bhakti, Vaishnava bhakti, uh, amongst the Vaishnava cultures, and it's accepted everywhere, and read everywhere, followed everywhere, and implemented everywhere. So all the Vaishnavas are followers of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami, he had four sons. His father had four sons: Rupa, Santosha, Amara, and Shiva Vallabha, Anupama. Rupa, Sanatana, and Anupama. They are all they became most famous. So these names are given. So the demise of Kumara Deva, the three sons moved to Sakurma near capital of Gauda Desha. Gauda Desh is Bengal is known as Gauda Desh, where all these three brothers, these four brothers, they continued with their studies. The three brothers studied Nyaya Shastra. Nyaya Shastra from famous logicians Vasudeva Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his brother Madhusudana Vachaspati. They also studied Sanskrit, Arabic, and Persian. So they were all these two, both these brothers were embodiment of all good qualities. They had all the good qualities. They were expert. They were very, very well learned, and they were expert administrators also. And their fame, they become soon very famous. They all belong to the Karnataka Brahmana family, and extremely pious, extremely knowledgeable, extremely capable, extremely lots of good qualities. They filled with, both the brothers were filled with such beautiful qualities that they become extremely very, very famous soon in the nearby area. And knowing their noble character and academic proficiency, both of them were forced into the government service of Muslim king. At that time, it was ruled by Sultan of Bengal called Alauddin Hussein Sheha, and which meant they became Muslims. They were given Muslim names, and because of that, the Orthodox caste Brahmanas of Gauda Desh, they removed, outcasted them from the Vaishnava community, from the Hindu community that time. So Rupa Goswami became Sultan's chief secretary. It's like a prime minister to the king. And his name was Dabir Khas, and Sanatan Goswami became a state revenue minister, kind of a finance minister of that state. And his name, he was given a name called Sakara Malika. So these both brothers, made their residence in the state capital Ramkeli, because they were in the service of king, who was fully dependent on these two brothers for running his kingdom. And these both these brothers were taking care of his kingdom so well that he was completely dependent on them. So this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and met both these brothers for the first time at Ramkeli, and both immediately wanted to surrender. But Mahaprabhu requested them, asked them to wait for a while, and then continue with their services, so that at the right time, he said, you will get an opportunity to come to me and associate with me more. And so he gave a very beautiful instruction to them that you behave as if when a woman has an affair with another man at home, she behaves as perfectly as possible. Similarly, you behave as perfectly as possible in the while giving services to this king. But in your mind, inside your mind, you cultivate Krishna consciousness. You continue to cultivate Krishna consciousness, so that when time is right, I will get you back to me. And so Rupa and Sanatan began to devise different means by which they can get out of their government service at later stage. And so inspired by Lord from within, they both began to wonder how can they get out of service. Yeah. So that and then Rupa Goswami again, very important point to note that both were not beggars. Both were occupying principal positions in king's kingdom. Both were very opulent. Both had been living a very responsive. Both were given lots of responsibilities by the king. As I mentioned, the king was fully dependent on them for administration and the governance of his kingdom. So it's not that no, they couldn't do anything. That's why they wanted to become a devotee. That's a wrong approach. Only a very intelligent person can become a devotee. And Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were extremely intelligent to understand Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and his and they wanted to and his position, his value. They could value Lord Chaitanya's presence on the planet, and they took this up as an opportunity for them to utilize their life for serving Lord Chaitanya and his mission. And so because of which they wanted to leave their opulent government service, the salaries, the palace, the samsar or whatever, the wealth that they had accumulated, everything they were prepared to give up in order to go and serve Lord Chaitanya. So that was the potency, that was the value they put on devotional service, so that they easily wanted to give that up all up for rendering services to Lord Chaitanya. So Rupa Goswami again sets an example for all grahasthas, that all 50% of his wealth he donated to Vaishnavas, distributed amongst Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, kept 25% with him, and kept 25% with her, deposited 25% with a person for emergency and for future use. Now, using this emergency money, Sanatan Goswami, so Rupa Goswami could escape, but Sanatan Goswami got arrested for avoiding his work. So king never wanted the both of them to leave. So he finally got Sanatan Goswami arrested, and he wanted him not to leave and continue rendering services. But Sanatan Goswami managed to use this money to bribe the jailer and get out of jail, and proceed towards Vrindavan, where he and Rupa Goswami both met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the background. And so Rupa Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Prayag, today's Allahabad, today's Prayagraj, and where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami about the nectar, about the secret of bhakti in about 10 days time at the Shashwa Medha Ghat, which is little lonely, because wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go, the whole crowd would follow with him. The Bindu Madhav temple, wherever he went, everybody thousands and thousands of people were following him, and they would all dance with him. They would all cry due to love of Krishna, and then they would follow him everywhere. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to choose a location where he can peacefully sit with Rupa Goswami and pass on these important instructions to him, which could then be written in the form of a book. So that was the service that Rupa Goswami got to document the bhakti literature. This is the evolution of body, evolution of consciousness, and we will soon be discussing this. So the quick question, what could be the total count of souls? Anybody want to take a guess? These are the three questions which we want to quickly talk. No big answers, maybe a quick summary of answers. What could be the total count of souls? How different bodies are allotted to souls? And can one perform bhakti because of punya of previous life, or studying scriptures on his own?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Dandavat
Prabhuji.
So, as per my understanding, means souls are incountable, Guruji. Means I have, at least to my understanding, I have not come across that number of souls are given. So, there may be n numbers of souls. But how different bodies are allotted, that is based on our karmas and based on the the mood we have at the time of leaving the quitting this body. And can we perform by punya of bhakti or by learning shastra at our own? Clearly, no, Prabhuji. That because that punyas are consumed, and then again the cycle of birth and death continues. And by learning shastras can't be learned at our own. That has to be taught by someone. Otherwise, the clear understanding of that shastra does not come.
Cannot come. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else wants to quickly? You can answer any one of these. No need to necessarily answer all the three. If you can, that's nice. But otherwise,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Like
Krishna.
for the third question, what I have understood so far is, if in this current life I perform Krishna Bhakti or Krishna I progress spiritually in Krishna Bhakti, and if by any chance I cannot complete my spiritual journey on this life, in this life, maybe from next, maybe in my next birth, I will start from where I have left. Like Krishna will give me an opportunity to start bhakti again. But apart from that, Prabhuji, I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Nice thoughts. Yeah, that's mentioned in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that where you left, you will begin from there. Neha Bhikramana Shosi verse also confirms this, that you start wherever you had left, you start from that point. So anybody else? So these are going to be the theme for our today's rest of the discussion, that we will see. Okay, we'll proceed. We'll not waste a lot of time. So we have picked up few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and these are the verses this is a topic comes in the Madhya Lila. Chaitanya Charitamrita has 3 sections. So Madhya Lila is the middle section, from where this chapter 19 documents the meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami. So the entire chapter is very beautifully narrates the whole background, gives the whole background of Rupa Goswami, how he managed to escape. And then later on, it also tells about how the conversation progressed between Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to show, or wanted to pass on this legacy of bhakti. And then he says that it's like an ocean, but I'm giving you a drop. And that's why the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the name of the book, which Prabhupada translated it as Nectar of Devotion. And so this is a verse. This verse comes as 138th verse, where Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna, none other than Krishna himself, Mahaprabhu is saying this, that Aita Brahmande Bhari Ananta Jiva Gana 84 Laksha Yonite Kariye Brahmana. That in this universe there are limitless living entities in 84 lakh species of life. So and all are wandering within this universe. Purport, this is a challenge to so-called scientists and philosophers who presume that there are living entities on this planet only. So-called scientists are going to the moon and they say that there is no life there. This does not tally with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's version. So Lord Chaitanya says something very important, that living entities are ananta or unlimited, limitless. They're limitless because Lord is limitless. So there is no census of souls that would have happened. So Earth population is 8 billion people. You may add some whatever the tiger population, elephant population, but Lord says the living entities, the souls are ananta, unlimited, and unlimited souls are ever existent. Then where Krishna says that Mamai Ansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That's Jiva Lukas are also Jiva Bhutas. These all the living entities are his Ansha. Ansha are separated particles, and they exist Sanatana. Eternally they exist. The Lord exists eternally. Particles also exist eternally, and Lord is limitless. Particles are also limitless. They are uncountable, ananta. And where are they? How they are how they are, what is the structure they are following? They are bifurcated, they are distributed amongst 84 lakh units. That's what the 84 laksha yoni is what Mahaprabhu says. So from Vedic literatures, we understand that there are living entities on each and every planet, regardless whether planet is composed of earth, water, fire, or air. So we think that earth is composing of these 5 elements, and living entities, our body also, we can find all these 5 elements, and therefore and therefore we identify ourselves as the living creatures. And then therefore we consider this planet earth is only the only have ability to habit, it's a habitual, it can only be habitated. The other planets which are in extreme cold or which have extreme hot, in their physical condition, we assume that those planets uh, are unsuitable for habitation for us in our current form of bodies. But then Prabhupada says something very significant here, that he says that these living entities may not have the same forms or same type of bodies that we have or we find in this planet Earth, which has a different type of conditions, climatic condition, and but those entities will have different type of bodies, and they will be but they exist everywhere. This is what Prabhupada is, is sharing, and Mahaprabhu is revealing to Rupa Goswami. The details of 84 lakh species, 9 lakh living entities are in the water, 20 lakh non-moving. These are the different types of trees and plants, sthavara, 11 lakh species of insects, reptiles, 10 lakhs species of birds, 30 lakh varieties of quadrupeds, that is animals, and 4 lakh species of humans. So 80 lakh non-human species and 4 lakh human species. Different bodies and different consciousness. Now this is very interesting. the Since the living entities are never annihilated, the soul is eternal. Soul cannot be destroyed. Naidam chandanti shastrani naidam dhati pavakaha. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. The soul has never taken birth, neither it has death. So soul is always existent and eternally existent. The eternal nature, the soul always existed in past, it exists today, it will continue to exist in future also. And so the souls are never annihilated. They simply transmigrate from one life to another form, one form to another form. So that is the secret of soul. So we saw the verse which was mentioned, 2.13, that is in the previous slide, which says that dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyati. That kaumara yavvana jara, and at the end of jara you give up this body and accept new body. So but the journey of is that of a soul. He changed, just like we change shirts, a soul change body, and they transmigrate from one form to another form based on their desires, based on their karma. So thus there is an evolution of forms according to the degree of developed consciousness. One experiences different degrees of consciousness in different forms. A dog consciousness is different from a man. Even within a species, we find that father's consciousness is different than his son, and a child's consciousness is different from a youth, a young man's consciousness. Just as we find different forms, we find different states of consciousness. In other words, the different type of bodies depend on different states of consciousness. So we get a body suitable for our consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, again, Prabhuji mentioned this verse, that he gave reference to this verse. So Vyamyam, so 8th chapter, 6th verse, Krishna says, in the 5th verse, Krishna gives the general principle. What is the general principle? That that Antya Kalecha Mam Evam Smaran Muktva Kalevaram. That if you remember me at the time of Antakal, or at the time of giving up your body, if you can remember me, if you Mam Evam Smarati Mam Evam Antakalecha Mam Evam Yovam Smarati Antakalecha Mam Evam Smaran Muktva Kalevaram. So then if you can do this, then you will attain my nature, and of this there is no doubt. So we have to, if we remember Krishna at the moment of death, we will attain Krishna. But in the next verse, Krishna gives a general principle. General principle is that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyaj tyaj tyajantyante kalevaram. Whatever you will remember at the moment of death, whatever is one's consciousness at the time of death, that will decide your next body, body next body you will get. And this is the process of transmigration of the soul. The varieties of bodies are already there. We change from one body to another in terms of our consciousness. So all the bodies, 84 lakh bodies are available. All just like in a mall, we all types of dresses are available, but depending on our taste, our desire, and our capacity to pay, we go and choose. We can go and choose the most costliest dress available in the mall, or we can do we can just go and buy a moderately priced dress or a cheap dress, depending on what we want to, what we like, what we have desire for, and what we have capacity to pay. We may like something which is extraordinarily great looking dress which we can't afford, we can't pay. So varieties of everything is available. What we go and choose is depending on our desires and our capacity to pay. The next we will look at some series of verses the which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues teaching to Rupa Goswami, that after describing the nature of this soul, the nature of the transmigration of this soul, saying that that the soul is been the what is the size of this soul. Now, uh, what is the how big this soul is, who is being talked about, who is been wandering from the lifetime and lifetime. So Mahaprabhu says the length and breadth of this living entity, which is the soul, spirit soul, is described as 1/10,000th part of a tip of a hair. But again, this is not a material object which can be viewed under a microscope. Since it's a spiritual object, no matter how develop our microscope can be, it cannot spot a spiritual object, because the same spark which is which is um, which is illuminating the body from within, when now the same spark is inside this body, it's illuminating this body, it's making my hand move, making my eyes blink, making my breathing to continue, making my heart to pump, making my food to digest, and so many other sub processes which are currently going on, the blood circulation to happen, the oxygen conversion has to happen, the sugar regulation has to happen, the brain cells have to work, the the brain marrows have to work, all the whole system of our body is extremely complicated system. It's more complicated than a control room which controls satellites sent in space. But all this is happening by illumination of that spark, which is making this work. The moment that spark leaves the body, the whole system exists, the whole machinery exists. However, it fails to function, as if when the electricity is cut off, the systems are there, but they fail to function. The light is there, it fails, stop giving light. The machines could be there, they stop functioning. So similarly, our body stops functioning the moment soul leaves the body. So the next verse, 44th verse, 144th verse, Krishna says, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that unlimited living entities can be divided into two divisions. Now he's bifurcating. We saw already that human and non-human is one bifurcation, where we saw that 4 lakh human species are there and other 80 lakhs are non-human. But here Mahaprabhu is bifurcating them between Sthavara and Jangama. Sthavara are non-moving like trees, and Jangama are those who can move, that all other species who can move. Now, Mahaprabhu is using a funnel-like approach. A funnel is bigger on the top, and as it comes down, it becomes narrow. Now we will see the elimination happening. That we start with a bigger population, 84 lakh species, unlimited souls, and then we were filtering, and making our scope narrow. That is the process that we will see from this verse onwards. So the those that cannot that can move, and those cannot move. Among living entities that can move, there are bird, aquatics, and animals, apart from the humans, obviously. So although the living entities known as human beings are very small in quantity, how many they were only 4 lakhs out of 84 lakhs. That division may still be further subdivided. So this 4 lakh human beings also can be subdivided. Now Mahaprabhu is bringing up this point that it's not that all 4 lakh species are at one level. They can be subdivided. And why? Because there are many uncultured human beings like millennials and so on so on. So this is 145th verse. So amongst human beings, now we have filtered out the non-humans, and we are now focusing on the 4 lakh species of humans. Now out of 4 lakhs, also the ones who are mlenchas, or the fallen souls, who has no understanding, who does not accept the Vedic conception of life, who reject Vedas, who reject God, those are atheists, who are only believes in sense enjoyment. Now they are almost living life like animals, and eventually they can be transferred to the given suitable bodies which are suitable for carrying out their actions. So those people are eliminated. Now we are talking about people who believe in God, some kind of a God. They follow some kind of a religion, and this is very significant, very significant verse that the Mahaprabhu says that Veda Nishtha, Veda Nishtha Madhye आराधके वेदा मुख्य वेदा मुक्ते नामे. आणि so let's hear that this verse. Let's study this verse in a little bit more detail. So among human beings, those who are followers of the Vedic principles are considered civilized. So all those who reject Veda, and we will try to understand in more detail what do you mean by followers of Vedic principles, that we will go deeper into that understanding. And this is very interesting, and all can pay attention to this particular point. So, but Mahaprabhu is saying that so they are considered civilized. So these people, whom we will see who these people are, so everybody else are not considered to be civilized. Which means they are as good as animals. The four dvipad pashus, they are as good as the chatushpad pashus. So those are not even to be discussed. Those, what to speak of them? That they are already fallen. They will eventually fall down to the animal species. So those are not to be talked about also. Now amongst those who are so-called followers of Vedas, among those also, half simply give lip service while committing all kind of sinful activities against the principles of Vedas. Now, what are the principles of Vedas? We will see it in our next slide. But Mahaprabhu says that out of, if 100 are following Vedas, half of them are simply giving lip service. And not only that, they're committing sinful activities against the principles of Vedas. The Vedas definitely teach us certain principles, and those principles need to be followed. And anybody uh, who is acting against those principle is committing sinful activities. So uh, Mahaprabhu talks about the half. Then such people do not care for regulatory principles, so they break all regulatory principles and they fall down. They fall down to the other category eventually, the mlenchas and others. So the word of Veda. Now this is very interesting discussion. Mahaprabhu Prabhupada gives it in the purport very beautifully. Uh, let's pay attention to this. This is a very important flow that Prabhupada develops. The word, this verse has Veda Nishtha. Veda Nishtha is the starting verse. Veda Nishtha Madhye Aradhe आराधके वेद मुखे मने, and वेदनिष्ठा पाप करे धर्म धर्म नाही गणे. So Vedamukha, Veda Nishidha Papa Kare. Nishidha is against the Vedic principle. And Veda Nishtha Madhe, those who consider themselves to be Veda Nishtha are the followers of the Vedas. So for them, all of us hopefully are those categories. So let's see where all we fit in this. So the word Veda means knowledge. Veda means knowledge. Now, Prabhupada takes it one step further. The supreme knowledge consists of understanding of supreme personality of Godhead and our relationship with Him and acting according to the relationship. So the three components are important in this. What is a Veda means knowledge. Now, what is supreme knowledge? Supreme knowledge means understanding the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, who is supreme personality of Godhead? That is, this understanding is considered to be the supreme knowledge. Not only that, once you know who supreme personality of Godhead is, you should also inquire about our relationship. Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha. That what is our relationship with him? Is he is there something that he does which affect us? If yes, then we need to understand what is happening. So if we are to consider that everything happening is our life is only because of our karma, and if something wrong is happening, it's with us only, we have to be blamed. And if anything happening against our wish, nobody desires to become old. If we are becoming old, which means we are not properly following our diet, or we are not exercising. Otherwise, if we were to do these two things, we probably would have never become old. If anybody believes this, then he has no relationship with God. He need not have any relationship with God, because uh, why we need to know what is our relationship with God? Because of our dependency on God. If one is able to have one's own sun and moon, and can get light and can get air, can have water, can produce rains, then practically they don't need God, because human beings, all the living entities, are dependent fully on God, not only for their survival, but also for their happiness. Because when God can give them unhappiness in the midst of the most happy moment of their lives, and they have no control practically over the events that are happening to us, or we don't have any control over what is happening to us next moment, and we are forced to accept our relationship with Krishna. Nobody can remain independently of Krishna. So we should understand what is our relationship with Krishna. It is very important, because our subsistence, our survival depends on our relationship with Krishna. Our state of happiness depends on our relationship with Krishna. But knowing who is supreme, knowing what is our relationship with him, is this enough? No, this is also not enough, because those relationship, Krishna we have to act according to our relationship. We have to act according to our relationship. So all the three components are components of supreme knowledge. When we know all the three things, we can claim to have supreme knowledge. Otherwise, if we don't know any one of these things, we have no knowledge practically, even though we could be holding degrees and designations, doctorates, and various certificates we could be holding, but we are fools. We are fool number ones, as Nautam Prabhu often says, that we're fool rascal number one or fool number one. If you don't know any one of these three things, we should know all the three things. Now, acting according to the Vedic principle is called religion. Religion is most wrongly used word in our country, or in generally in the world today. People don't want to associate themselves with the religion, because they think that religion is something insensitive, religion is limiting, religion is meant for unintelligent people, religion is meant for sensitive people, or sentimental people. Religions are useless. We don't need religion. all are equal, all are one. We don't need any of these things. Or religion is the root cause of all problems. There are many versions which are available in the world today, but Krishna says, Mahaprabhu gives a very beautiful definition of what is religion. Religion. Now these three things are important. Once you understand that knowledge, everybody is looking for knowledge. From the moment you are born, you are searching or looking around and trying to make sense of things around us, because that's our nature. The soul, the Satchid Ananda, that is eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now, this is nature of soul. Soul cannot remain idle. The moment a child is born, it starts looking around. Who is going to, if I cry, who comes and take care of me? Who offer me her breast milk every day? Now, that person must be related with me. I must be. So I should. So child starts recognizing that person as his mother. So one is always trying to gain knowledge of our situation around us. So no, at no moment, we can afford not to know things around us and still hope to survive. So knowledge is so critical, and that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to understand things around us, make sense of situations around us, and when we have a relationship, we figure out that this is our relationship. We act according to that relationship. So acting accordance with the Vedic principle is called religion. So once we have the supreme knowledge, we need to, very commonsensical thing is to act according to that knowledge, so that we live in harmony with the supreme, who is in control, of this universe. So we don't, harmony means we align our plans with his plans. If you happen to work in a company, and if your management or a CEO has a plan, you better align your plan with his plan. If you have some other plan which are contrary to his plan, he will kick you out. So that's very commonsensical, that we can't live in the company working against that company, against the plans of that company. So if we are so much dependent on God, if we are so much dependent on Krishna, then our actions should supplement our mood, our dependence on Krishna, because we depend on his mercy so much that at no point of time we should do something which will attract his anger, or his we don't want he give us misfortune, suffering sending towards us. So for that, a commonsensical approach will mean that you act according to the instructions, or act according to the Vedic principles. That is called religion, acting according. So acting, in this case, becomes religion. Religion means following the orders of supreme personality of Godhead. Very simple. Following the orders of supreme personality of Godhead, whatever he has told us to do in Bhagavad Gita, whatever he has taught, whatever that his devotees have taught by personal example in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to do that. That is religion, nothing else. The Vedic principles are the injunctions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The highest type of religious system is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, by which one can become fully conscious of the existence of God, including his form, his name, qualities, pastimes, abode, and all pervasive features. So this is very interesting, that the religion is the dharmam to sakshat bhagavat pranita. What is dharma? Dharma is whatever is spoken by Lord, whatever instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. All the instructions are given in Bhagavad Gita. All the practical implementation of those instructions is documented in Srimad Bhagavatam. And between these two things, Mahaprabhu says everything is there. You don't need any third thing, third reference. So followers of Vedas, when everything is completely known, that is perfection of Vedic knowledge. The fulfillment of Vedic knowledge is systematic knowledge of the characteristics of God. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya. That I am to be known by studying all the Vedas. The aim of studying Vedic knowledge is to understand Krishna, understand God. Therefore, those who are actually following Vedic knowledge and searching after God cannot commit sinful activities against the Supreme Lord's order. However, in this age of Kali, although men profess to belong to so many different kind of religions, most of them commit sinful activities against the orders of the Vedic scriptures, and therefore none of them can progress. So in India, again, this is a big problem, that the instructions of Krishna are not followed, but everybody in India claims to be a religious person. They probably belongs to some kind of a religion. They are attached to some temple. They are attached to some deity, and they perform all the activities against the instructions of Krishna. They offer, they eat food without offering. That's a basic instruction. They uh, so starting from eating to the other thing activities, uh, every eating patram pushpam phalam toyam. We are supposed to eat only sattvic food, but people eat all kind of foods. So the eating itself cannot be regulated by the so-called religious people. Those who are followers of Vedas, even they cannot regulate their simple action of eating. What to speak of other higher principles that Krishna has given about sense regulation, mind control, use of proper intelligence, getting attached to Krishna, performing satata kirta yantomam. How, so those things, those instructions are not followed, and hence the remembrance of Krishna is not cultivated. So all their efforts, whatever they do, whichever temples they go, whichever distances they travel by foot for visiting some temple on the mountain peak, or wherever they go, whatever they do, they all become useless. They all fall down. They all those efforts become shrama evahi kevalam. Next Chaitanya Mahaprabhu start describing the filtering. Again, begins with his filtering process, that among the followers of Vedic knowledge. Now we are talking about the 4 lakh species of human. Now out of that 4 lakh, half of them are mlenchas, or non-believers of Vedas. Non-believers of Vedas means non-believers of Krishna, non-believers of God. Now there's no discussion required for those people. Those are as good as animals. They will eventually become animals if they continue this progress. They'll so they will fall down from the human form to the animal form. But amongst those who are so-called considered to be followers of Vedas, Krishna says half of them are going only lip service and committing all kind of sinful activities. So those people are also useless, and all their efforts are wasted. They can't progress beyond, they cannot make any progress in spiritual life. Now the balanced people, now amongst the followers of Veda, the most are following the process of fruitive activities and distinguishing between good karma and bad karma. Out of many sincere fruitive actors, there may be one who is actually wise. Now why fruitive? Because everybody is bound by their desires and attachments and envy and anger. So everybody is desiring to enjoy. Everybody is desiring to enjoy in this world, and therefore those who are followers of Vedas, they at least have a consciousness that let me try and enjoy in accordance with the Vedic principles, not contrary to the Vedic principles. So let me perform some yajna, let me perform some sacrifice, so that I can be given superior enjoyments, and my enjoyments can continue. Now this is a lower, this is a karma kanda section, karma kanda level, where devotee is still struggling, still not able to regulate his mind, still not able to regulate his senses, and intelligence is sleeping, and the whole robbery is happening. The whole endeavor is not for attaining Krishna. Whole endeavor is to attain superior sense gratification. Now whole focus of bhakti is to get superior car. So focus of bhakti is to get superior home. Focus of bhakti is to get a high paying job. So focus of bhakti is to become more educated and more respected. My fame increases, my material opulence increases, my sensual pleasure increases, and so on and so forth. So this is karma kanda section. So 147th verse, Mahaprabhu talks about such people, and he says, so all those people who are doing this for getting better enjoyment, better opulence, their efforts are wasted. But out of that, only one could be wise. One could be wise. What is such, and what does such wise man do? Will see in the subsequent section. So out of many millions of such wise men, one may actually become liberated, one may actually try for liberation. And out of many millions of such liberated person, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very difficult to find. So the Manushanam Sahasreshu, only out of thousands of men, the thousand is not by number, but it's to indicate many. Now many is millions and billions, and because only very few have opportunity. Now we see the animals, the insects, the 80 lakh species does not have capacity only to inquire. Now out of 4 lakh humans which are left over, uh, half of them are mlenchas, are non-believers of Vedas on God. They don't they consider themselves as God. So those are ruled out. Out of those who are left over, those who are following Vedas, many of them are simply giving lip service and incurring all kind of sinful activities. So they are adharmic people. They are so-called believers of Vedas, but they do all kind of adharmic activities. So there is no hope for such people. Out of balance people who are trying to follow Vedic principles, half of them, most of them are doing it for fruitive results. Means they want some better sense enjoyment by performing those rituals, by performing those these activities, spiritual activities, whereby trying to, they are so-called trying to align their life with Vedic principles, which we said in the, which we studied, what those instructions of Krishna they are trying to follow through Vedas, but they are doing it for not for attaining Krishna, they are doing it for attaining superior sense enjoyment. So so this population is also very huge, and Krishna says out of that any one may become wise, one may become tired of sense enjoyment and say, can there be something better? Can I get out of this cycle of birth and death? And out of millions of such wise men, uh, one may aspire for mukti, one may aspire for liberation. And out of many such millions of such liberated person, Mahaprabhu says a pure devotee of Lord Krishna who wants to love and serve Krishna is very difficult to find. Now where do we sit in this whole chain of humans? And we're not even talked about the insects and the four-leg animals, the fishes and the stavaras, the trees. And so we happen to be of those special category of people who choose to log in every Sunday, and try to hear what message Krishna has given and try to implement that to the best of our ability and capacity. Now they are so fortunate. That's the whole point of this sales session, that how fortunate we are. Now we've seen these millions and millions of people who are doing everything else, and we are choosing to log into this Zoom session and listen what Krishna is saying, what Mahaprabhu is saying. And now what is the what do we get out of this? So because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Creative workers desire material enjoyments, Jnani desire liberation, Yogi desire material opulence. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. Chaitanya Chatamrut, Madhya Lila, 19th chapter, 149th verse. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kangshati sama sarvashu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. This verse comes in Bhagavad Gita. So important verse. Now the section where we will do little bit deeper into each of these verses are this sections begins from verse 151 of Chaitanya Chatamrut, Madhya Lila, 19th chapter. Now Mahaprabhu is summarizing the background that he is given in this verse, that Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bija. This is the Bhakti Lata Bij concept get introduced in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The translation: according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. What a beautiful verse. ब्रह्मांडे भ्रमिते कोना भाग्यवान जीव गुरु कृष्ण प्रसादे पाए भक्ति लता बीज. So Brahmande Brahmite, Prabhupada talks about the Brahmanda as there are millions and trillions of living entities everywhere, and they are engaged in Maya. They are engaged by Maya in suffering and enjoying the results of their creative activities, life after life. Now, this is all the what we saw, what we discussed so far. When we started looking at the funnel, and we started from the larger population, and we were filtering down to a lower population, coming lower, and we are filtering out a lot of people, a lot of jivas, a lot of souls. But so it's very easy to filter them out, because anybody who is suffering life that of an animal, will go through the evolution process, because in the life of animal they cannot incur karma. They can only burn their karma and eventually slowly progress to the better form of life, and finally hope to attain human form of life on some day, and then not waste, not again indulge into activities which he was busy doing when he was an animal. A dog eats, sleeps, mates, and defends. A man, if he does the same thing, he probably will be given dog's body eventually. If he does not cultivate better consciousness, better inquiry, if he doesn't inquire about his position, about why he's suffering in this material world, who is in control of this life, by whose wish he's been given this particular life, why by whose wish he's born into this family, you're born in the family where he has this current name and current surname and the current home, current region. So why am I born as a Maharashtrian? Why am I born in a middle class family? Why am I not born in a rich family? Who is controlling me? Who is exercising control over my life? Who is giving me happiness, moments of happiness, and who is giving me moments of distress, moments of sorrow? Why it comes upon me? Who is this person? Now, this is the inquiry everybody has to do. Now, if you fail to do this inquiry, you are living a dog's life. You are living a very animalistic life. Eventually, if you perfect this, you will be given that body, so that you can live that body, you live that consciousness life in that consciousness very nicely. You can bark like a dog then very nicely. So this is these are all people, all those souls are engaged by Maya. They are all Maya Das. They are all engaged by Maya, and she is making them suffer and enjoy the results of their actions. So this is the position of materially conditioned living entities. Out of many of these living entities, one who is actually fortunate, Bhagyavan, comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master by the mercy of Krishna. Now, Prabhupada gives an example of Narad Muni. This story comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Narad Muni was a son of a maid servant. Maid servant is not a very maid servant is a servant who would be engaged in serving people different, and we should be doing very minuscule activities, cooking, cleaning utensils, or cleaning floor, and those kind of activities that she will be engaged in. So he was son of a maid servant. Now, obviously, this is not a very prestigious position where you can become learned. It's not a brahmana, this is not a kshatriya, not even a kshudra. It's a kind of a very kshudra position. But fortunately for him, his mother was engaged in rendering services to some Vaishnavas who stayed near their place during the Chaturmasa period. Chaturmasa is 4 months of rain, when the wandering sadhus used to station themselves at one place, and the next 4 months they used to stay there. Now, and obviously they used to do Krishna Katha. They used to remember, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They used to uh, They will perform yagyas, they'll perform all kind of auspicious activities, and they'll focus themselves on the hearing and chanting process during those 4 months. And then after that they start wandering again for preaching Krishna consciousness. Now these Vaishnavas, when they were staying nearby, this boy also started serving them along with his mother. And these boys, the Vaishnavas, uh, they taking compassion upon the boy, the Vaishnavas offered him the remnants of their food. So remnants of their food literally means remnant of the food. So if somebody comes to your home for eating prasad, whatever food he may choose to leave in the plate, you need to eat that plate, eat it from that plate. That's called remnants of the uh, of the of the foodstuff. And these remnants of a Vaishnavas, when we eat from the plates of a Vaishnava, they are purifying, they're extremely purifying, extremely fortunate for anybody to get those kind of remnants. That's prasad. So the devotees will leave something in their plate so that the host can accept it and then can benefit out of it. So Vaishnavas obeying the remnants of the food was tasted by Narad Muni, and at that time when he was a small boy. Now this happened by the mercy, by taking compassion upon the boy. Vaishnavas offered him the remnant. So it's not supposed to be offered to anyone and everyone. Unless you become qualified, you don't get those prasad. You do not get the prasad. So you can get prasad only by the mercy of Vaishnava. So the boy became object of their sympathy, and by the Vaishnava's unknown mercy, gradually he became a pure devotee. So he followed all instructions given by Vaishnavas. So in the next life, he became Narad Muni, the most exalted Vaishnavas, the most and the top most important Guru Acharya of the Vaishnavas. So following in the footsteps of Narad Muni, this Krishna consciousness movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. Like those saints, those Vaishnavas, they came and stay nearby so that Narad Muni could, in his previous life, could get connected with them. And when we get connected with the Vaishnava, we have to inquire, we have to render service to them, and we have to follow their instructions. Whatever they will tell, we simply have to obey. If you don't, then that's useless. That's what's the use of it's like getting a fortune and throwing it away, getting $1 million check or $1 million note and throwing it into the gutter. So if one is fortunate, he becomes intimately related with this movement. Then by the grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has dormant Krishna bhakti, love for Krishna in their heart, and in association of good devotees, that love is revealed. So Krishna Mahaprabhu says that Mali Hana Kara Sei Bija Aropana, Mali Hana Kara Sei Bija Aropana, Shravana Kirtane Jale Karaye Sinchana. Shravana Kirtana Jale Karaye Sinchana. So when a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. Mali Hana. Mali means gardener. Literally means gardener. And once by becoming a gardener, the seed has to be sowed into the heart. And you have to water it by regular hearing and chanting. Shravana Kirtana Jale Karaye Sinchana. Now, if he waters the seed gradually by the process of Shravana and Kirtana, hearing and chanting, the seed will begin to sprout. Those with background of pious life are eligible to receive life's supreme benefit, and to bestow this benefit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead sends his representative to impart his mercy. That's why Prabhupada came. Prabhupada came to distribute this love of Krishna. This was the mission for which Mahaprabhu appeared. So after speaking Bhagavad Gita, Krishna realized that people are unable to surrender to Krishna because Bhagavad Gita requires surrender of the soul, wholehearted surrender to Krishna before Krishna can start acting. but people were unable to surrender to Krishna, and hence Mahaprabhu Krishna decided to appear as a Mahaprabhu to distribute love of Krishna freely, without any discrimination. The the Mahaprabhu says that the, without discriminating qualified patra apatra, patra is qualified and apatra he is unqualified, without checking people's qualifications, without checking their hearts, Mahaprabhu came and distributed love of Krishna. Everybody became lovers of Krishna, and they started serving Krishna, and that was the explosion in bhakti that Mahaprabhu brought by himself, and then have made everybody a Vaishnavas, and that's how that was his mercy, because otherwise people were struggling to become devotees. People were not becoming devotees. People were unable to give up their taste for sense enjoyment. They were never prepared to take a higher taste so that the lower taste can be given up. So, this is the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada says Prabhupada came to take that mercy and go abroad and distribute it widely all over the world. So not only limited to India. Even in India, it was becoming weaker at that point of time, but it was still existent. Mahaprabhu's movement was existent. Bhakti Siddhanta was there. Before that, before him, his father was there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there. They were all propagating, but they were also becoming khina. Khina is weaker. And Prabhupada came, and then he again brought in another explosion in bhakti, just like Mahaprabhu did, and he went all over the world and distributed the same bhakti to mlenchas. Mlenchas are the most fallen people, um, most fallen people, the naradhamas, adhamas. He's giving it to everyone, and he's making everybody devotees. Everybody, he's making them as perfect brahmanas, by the process of they taking up uh, the hearing and chanting and deity worship. These three aspects, we'll talk about that in a while. So those with background of, so Prabhupada mentioned that those with the background of pious life gets so somebody mentioned that in the previous life, if you have done something, then you continue to get the benefit. You get a good head start, but getting good start does not ensure good finish. For that, your endeavor is also required, and that we will now talk about later. So the spiritual master train his disciple to render devotional service unto the supreme personality of Godhead. This is called Guru Krupa. Now, by the mercy of Krishna, one meets the bona fide spiritual master, and by the mercy of spiritual master, the disciple is fully trained in devotional service of the Lord. He starts serving Lord. So, so we get in connect with devotees by the mercy of Krishna, and that could be because of our pious activities in our past life. Now, we getting good head start does not ensure that we finish also properly. We may mess up in between, and that's quite possible. Why? Because Maya is also very strong. We live in the area of Maya, where Maya is in control. We are not in control. Even Krishna does not interfere in her work, because she is serving Krishna. So if we wish to practice bhakti, we need to be extremely watchful. We need to be extremely careful. So this is what Prabhupada mentioned in the subsequent portion of this purport. After receiving the spiritual master's mercy, one must repeat his instructions, and this is called Shravana Kirtana, hearing and chanting. One who has not properly heard from the spiritual master, or who does not follow the regulative principles, is not fit for chanting. To live with devotees or to live in a temple means to associate with the Shravana Kirtana process. So Prabhupada gives an example that Prabhupada brings in the one important point of deity worship in this, that Shravana Kirtana and serving Lord, serving the deity. That's where the temple reference comes, that you render actual service to the deities. And yesterday we heard from Ramrup Prabhuji that Prabhupada invited lordships to appear in those deities, and because Prabhupada requested, those Lord Lord stayed in those deities and accepted the service. Then eventually he only started, he got those people trained himself so that they can render those services nicely, because Prabhupada's time was limited. Prabhupada was wondering, moving from country to country. So he would install deity, he would request lords to come, and he would request Lord only to arrange for all the paraphernalia, and give intelligence to these people so that they can serve Lord properly. So Prabhupada was helpless. Prabhupada also took assistance from Lord himself, and Lord kindly reciprocated with him. And because Prabhupada is such a dear devotee of him, that for him Lord did this also, that he stayed in those deities, he's accepted the bhoga, whatever the right, wrong, horribly wrong services that were offered to him. Eventually he got everyone corrected, and then the movement flourished, the devotees flourished, their spiritual life flourished. So Prabhupada says that um, that's the beauty, that along with the Shravana Kirtana, once you introduce deity worship, service, direct service to the Lord, which is again, which brings with itself many other aspects of devotional service, such as once you have a deity, you have to make garlands, you have to perform archa vigraha puja, a proper way in which it can be worshipped. The deities can be worshipped. So Pancharatri ki puja has to be performed. Bhoga has to be cooked and offered regularly. Garlands have to be made. The dresses have to be made. The festivals have to be celebrated. The devotees 6 time artis have to be performed. 4 time bhoga has to be offered. Festival need to be conducted, and the whole movement can flourish from this. The watering the seed still continues through the Shravanam and Kirtanam done along with the deity worship, and all the sub processes which are connected with the deity worship. That's how the entire movement, everybody can get engaged, everybody can do their seva. So even if not everybody gets a chance to go and change dress of the Lord or offer arti to the Lord, just by remaining present in the temple, at the moment when the Mangalarti is happening, when the Darshanarti is happening, one is participating in that puja, one is performing that same puja, and one is getting same benefit of performing the puja that is being offered by the pujari. So there are this, with temple, all those facilities could be made available along with Shravanam and Kirtanam. As one waters the Bhaktilata beach, the seed sprouts and the creeper gradually grows to the point where it penetrates the walls of this universe and goes beyond the Viraja river lying between the spiritual world and the material world. It attains Brahmaloka, the Brahman effulgence, and penetrating through that stratum, it reaches the spiritual sky and the spiritual planet Goloka Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu further says in 154th verse, being situated in one's heart and being watered by Shravana Kirtana, the Bhakti creeper grows more and more. In this way, it attains the shelter of the desire tree of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is eternally situated in the planet known as Goloka Vrindavan, in the topmost region of the spiritual sky. 155th verse, a very important one. The creeper greatly expands in the Goloka Vrindavan planet, and there it produces the fruit of love for Krishna. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. If the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around so that the powerful elephant of offense may not enter. Now, this is critical. This is the the so we are introduced that how the creeper grows. We told Mahaprabhu tells that this creeper goes right up to the right up to uh, it breaks the wall of spiritual sky, material sky, and goes into the spiritual world and goes to Golok Vrindavan. The creature, while we are while we are in this material world, while we are doing our Shravana and Kirtana, while we continue to do and Aradhana, Shravana, Kirtana, and Aradhana, in while we are living here in the material world, while we are doing this, the same creeper can grow this tall, can go and touch the feet of Lord Krishna, and the fruit of love for Krishna can be experienced by while we are in the material world. The spiritual happiness that we experience while chanting, the spiritual happiness that we experience by rendering services to Krishna and his devotees, the spiritual happiness that we relish while hearing Krishna Katha, these glimpses of spiritual happiness are nothing but the fruit of the love for Krishna that we are slowly cultivating, and slowly, gradually, it's increasing. And this all starts by the mercy of Krishna and by mercy of Guru. So Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bija. It starts with a bija being given to us, and we have to act. We have to act to sow that seed into the region of our heart. Our heart is like a land. Our heart is like a fertile land. If we have done some pious activities in past, our land could be fertile, but still a fertile land needs a bija, a potent bija, a powerful bija, and that comes from Guru. And Guru gives it because of the mercy of Krishna. Once we get that bija, we sow it in the region of our heart. We don't have to stop. We have to water it. We have to water it regularly, so that the bija can sprout and become a tree, become a creeper, and that creeper grows. uh, what Who can destroy this creeper? Who are the shatru of this creeper? Are our anarthas, such as we have many desires. We may we have desires, we have temptations. The temptations in the world, the various sense objects in the world, they may promise some enjoyment to me today, and we may be restrained from accepting those enjoyments, and that's and we are forced we are willingly doing this sacrifice, so that we can attain Krishna, attain higher happiness. But those temptations still continues to be around us. We are surrounded by all those temptations. And why we have desires and temptations? Because we have indulged in those things in past. So we have impressions from past. Those past impressions promise us those the quick enjoyment, by giving up Krishna consciousness. And at times we can fall for such temptations, and therefore we have to be extremely careful. So this is what Mahaprabhu is asking us to guard, to be watchful, to fence our bija, to fence our farm, by the by carefully making sure that the mad elephant of these things don't enter into our farm and uproot, destroy the garden. The attachments are another one. Envy and anger is another one. Doubt is another one. All these are anarthas, and they are potent enough to destroy the creeper of bhakti that we have been cultivating. And any one we may fall to, all four can appear. Kaikai started with doubt, and eventually all other anarthas gathered soon. And then she started hating Ram, just like nothing. And the same Ram whom she used to love earlier, more than Bharata, so her own son, more than her own son, she used to love Ram. And the same Ram, she started hating. It all started with a small doubt which was planted in her mind by Manthara. So Rupa Goswami has documented this in the instructions called Nectar of Instruction, the book called Nectar of Instruction, which says that where he has documented these some of the instructions. Yeah, we'll study hopefully in course of our weekly study these books as well, and that time we can study them in detail. So this is the second verse in the Nectar of Instructions. Nectar of Instructions has about I think 18 or 22 verses. I don't exactly remember. Between Nectar of Instruction and Ishopanishad, one of them has 18 verses, one of them has 22 verses, but I believe this has 18 verses. And it starts from the very basic instructions for a devotee to goes up to the Radha Kunda and Radharani towards the end. Very beautiful book. We'll hope some stage we can study this book in detail. So the second verse, which wherein wherein Rupa Goswami tell us how our bhakti can be destroyed. That which six things, if we follow, our bhakti can be destroyed. And it starts with atyahara, प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसंगश्च लौलम च षड्बीर bhakti vinashyati. That one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following six activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane activities, mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, or there is over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Which are mundane subject matters? Bollywood, stock market, IPL, ranking of tennis players, or politics, Ukraine war. Everything can be mundane. Everything is mundane. Prajalpa is talking unnecessarily about anything other than Krishna. When you are not glorifying Krishna, you are doing a prajalpa. You, some of you who come to temple, Nata Prabhu always instructs that the moment the class gets over, the pachar starts. Now one has to only talk about Krishna, and we hope that they are all talking about Krishna. They take time, utilize the time that they have between finishing off a lecture and beginning of our prasad to talk about Krishna consciousness, inquire about Krishna consciousness of each other. So that is what devotees are supposed to do. They're supposed to tushyanti cha ramanti cha kathayantaschi mam bhaktya tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They need to discuss Krishna katha amongst each other, not talk about anything else. Practice the scriptural rules and regulation, niyamagraha, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them, and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. That's a problem, that we should follow rules and regulation for seeking spiritual advancement, not just for because we are told to do. Eventually we should realize, initially we may do that, but eventually we should seek spiritual advancement even from following rules and regulations. But by by practicing Ekadashi fast, we should definitely engage ourselves. It's not just change of foodstuff. Ekadashi should not be, the meaning of Ekadashi fasting should not be limited to changing foodstuff. That instead of eating dal roti, rice, sabzi, I am eating sabudana, this. Not, and then I still eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. Then that's at a beginning level that could be okay, but gradually one should hope to seek spiritual advancement by by increasing our hearing and chanting and worshipping on the days of special days of Ekadashi, so that we can seek spiritual advancement by practicing rules and regulations, rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Even that is not accepted. So that can destroy our bhakti. So we have to ekantiti harer bhakti utpata eva kevalam. So on our own, whimsically, any bhakti principle followed whimsically because मुझे ऐसा लगता है, मेरे मन से मैं करूंगा, मैं मेरे मन से करूंगा, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, भगवान तो मन में है, भगवान को सब कुछ अच्छा लगेगा, मैं कुछ भी करूंगा भगवान को अच्छा लगेगा. So everybody acting independently or whimsically and making their own rules and regulations, those people cannot succeed in bhakti. So their bhakti will be destroyed very soon. And associating with worldly minded persons now who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, now association means exchange of desires with them. Association means having, not just having intimate physical connection, but exchanging desires. We are taking their desires rather than giving them desires, rather than getting a desire to chant verses, to learn the verses. Instead of that, we are getting a desire to learn Bollywood songs and sing those songs. Now that's taking association. If you are able to give association, you should give association, so that instead of learning Bollywood song, the same person can be taught verses from Bhagavad Gita, so that he can sing, he can narrate them, he can chant them wherever he gets free time. So this is difference between the taking association and giving association. We should be givers of association, so that whoever come in connect with us get something about Krishna, hear something about Krishna from us. Not we end up taking their association, where we we learn from them how expertly they are earning money in stock market every day, and then obviously we will cultivate a desire to do the same, and then we'll forget Krishna consciousness, we'll go there. So this is simple examples, but associating with worldly minded people, is that association is impossible at one level, but physical proximity is impossible at one level, but association is a matter of choice that we can exercise every day. And we may choose to associate, we may choose not to associate, and that is a matter of choice. The physical proximity we will have, we will be close, we will sitting close to the people who are worldly minded, in our offices, in our trains, in our public transport, in our home. We are surrounded by them everywhere, but we may not choose to associate with them. We may not purchase their desires, we may not get their desires, we may not buy their desires, or rather we may try to give our desires to them. We want to learn Bhagavad Gita, we want to chant nicely, we want to cultivate Krishna consciousness nicely, we want to distribute books nicely, we want to worship deities nicely, we want to sing kirtan nicely, we want to visit dham nicely. For all our vacations we want to go and visit dham rather than going and visiting Imagica, or some fancy foreign locations where there is no Krishna Katha, no Krishna Bhajan, no Krishna Prasad. If there are no Krishna deities, no form of Krishna, no Krishna devotees are available, so what's the use of that place? So associating with worldly minded persons, this is the meaning of association. And being greedy for mundane achievement. Laulyam is a fame, becoming one is running behind qualifications, one is running behind certifications, one is running behind what would they achieve, what would you achieve by getting those, maybe few more dollars, few more rupees, or little more fame, or little more followers on your social media accounts. But those are all if they are disconnected from with Krishna, then those are useless. So they will help you destroy whatever the bhakti that you have so far cultivated. Eventually it will get destroyed. Then in the next verse, Rupa Goswami tell us what should you do then. These things are not to be done. Those six he gives in the next verse, six things that you should be doing. Utsaha nishchaya dharya tattat karma pravartanat sangat yagat sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasiddhati. So by doing these six things, your bhakti will become famous. You will become a nice devotee. You will grow in your, these are favorable to your devotional service. What are those? Utsahi, becoming remaining utsahi, remaining enthusiastic. Nishchaya, endeavoring with great confidence. And be patient. चैंटिंग करते हैं, एक महीने में, एक साल में हमको सारे बेनिफिट्स नहीं मिल सकते हैं. Possibility exists, but probability becomes low because of our past bad karma. We may not purify enough ourselves, and hence we need to, जैसे बीमारी का स्तर बड़ा होता है तो डोज भी ज्यादा लगता है. So we also need more more, it may require more time, or it may require increased dosage of medicine. So chanting works, but it may work differently on different people. So we need to have utsaha, we need to have enthusiasm, we need to have patience, and we need to have confidence. All the three things need to be there when we practice devotional service. Overnight, one can become a devotee, one may not become a devotee, but the possibility exists. As I said, overnight you can surrender everything to Krishna, and all your karma can be burned at one go, in 1 minute. But that can happen, but the possibility is low, because of our attachments, because of our temptations, because of our desires, and all that baggage that we are carrying with ourselves, though, of papa, of punya, and of all the fruits which are awaiting to be fructified and deliver us with either good results or bad results. All those can be destroyed with a nama. By simply chanting, all those can be destroyed, but that naam has to be pure naam. How much, how what is our capacity to chant purely in the pure state of consciousness? When we chant, we hear properly, we meditate on Krishna. So depends on all, it all depends on that. If we are able to do that, we can achieve it very quickly. But if we are not able to do that, then we may take slightly longer time. So we need to be patient, we need to be enthusiastic in our service. Chanting is a service, hearing is a service. Right now also, more than 40 people are listening. We started talking at 11:05. So this, all this enthusiasm, service, enthusiasm, determination, and patience, all required in bhakti. So endeavoring with confidence, the tat karma pravartana, that whatever we have to do, we have to do it with confidence, being patient. Sangatyagat sato vritti, acting according to the regulative principles, and then abandoning association of non-devotees, and the following of the footsteps of previous acharya. Shalbir bhakti prasiddhati, the six things can very favorable for bhakti. Dadati pratigrahanati grahyam guhyam akhyati pruchati bhunte bhojayate chaivam shalvidham priti lakshanam. So these six symptoms of priti, because amongst devotees there should be priti, because we are all endeavoring for bliss. We all want happiness, and that happiness, if we cannot get from material life, we are avoiding to get it from the material life, we must get it in the spiritual life. And these are six ways in which we can attain happiness. By offering gift in charity, by accepting charitable gifts, by giving and by accepting gifts. These are exchanges in which we can reciprocate with other devotees, by accepting, by revealing one's mind to others in confidence. Guhya is secret. Guhyam akshati, speaking secret. And pruchati, asking for and hearing from others. So speaking to others and hearing from others. Guhya could be the problems which they face in following of their devotional service, in their personal life, in their, some devotees could be struggling with various anarthas. So some devotees could be struggling with basic basic facilities of life could be missing with them, and in that condition they may struggle to hear and chant nicely. There could be many other problems which each individually people are facing. So those need to be discussed, those need to be discussed in confidentiality. You don't want them to become public knowledge, you don't want them to be published in ISKCON gossip newspaper, where everybody knows this, and everybody start of coming to them and offering advice. No, these are shared in confidence, and whatever the solutions are offered, those are accepted and implemented by that devotee. So that's why you need to have very close devotee association, when close devotee friends. And that can happen only when you have frequent meetings with your devotees frequently. And what best purpose to meet than for offering prasad, accepting prasad and offering prasad. This is the best opportunity where you can meet and associate with the devotees is prasad. So we call devotees for prasad, we go to other devotees homes for prasad. Wherever there is a prasad arranged, there is deities, there is kirtan, there is katha, and then followed by prasad. So all the and when we go to such places, we go with some gifts, and the host also often gives some gifts to us. So this is a beautiful way in which loving exchanges can happen amongst devotees, and through these exchanges one obtains extreme pleasure. These are extremely pleasurable exchanges which happens among devotees, and that's where a devotee can remain steady in devotional life. Because until you develop love for Krishna, some you need some basic level of happiness, you need some basic level of interaction with fellow devotees, and those also should be pleasurable, those also should give you happiness. So Prabhupada, that's why created the society, and he expect everybody to participate, he expect everybody to call each others for prasad in their homes. So we expect everybody, when you go to other devotees home, go with some gift, and the other devotees also should reciprocate by giving some gift to the guest who comes to our home. And we should have devotee connects, we should talk to devotees, express our shortcomings, express our problems, express our difficulties, seek their guidance, how I can improve in my chanting, how I can improve in my Krishna Katha, how I can improve in my reading of Bhagavad Gita, how I can understand Bhagavad Gita properly, how I can understand different sections of Bhagavatam properly, how can I develop taste to read Bhagavatam, how do I develop taste to memorize verses from Bhagavad Gita, uh, so and so forth. How can I yesterday Narada Prabhu asked question about deity worship at home, how grahasthas can worship Lord at home, what are the do's and don'ts for that. And so there could be so many ways in which we can exchange our mind, we can have close exchanges with other fellow devotees and discuss so many topics about devotional service. And that's what we are expected to do in a society. That's why this is a society, this is not to be done in isolation. So to summarize Bhakti Lata Bij, we discuss that we get devotional service. We may have pious activities in past, but that just ensure that your region of heart is fertile. But it still need a seed. That seed is given by the devotees because of the order of the Supreme Lord. By the mercy of Lord, you get a devotee, and that devotee gives seed of devotional service to us. So it is very rare to get a human birth in the first place, and then amongst human beings also, it's very rare for anybody to come to Krishna consciousness, anybody to understand, make an effort to understand Krishna Tattva. Out of those who make an effort, even those who understand it fully are very rare, and those who surrender fully to Krishna are also very very rare. But those who are endeavoring, even they are special, because they also happen to be a very very small quantity of people out of 8 billion people who live in this world. And what to speak of other entities who have a less suitable body, a less suitable body for making spiritual inquiry. A tiger or a dog or a hog, a cat, they have a less suitable bodies for making spiritual inquiries, and hence those are very unfortunate. So hopefully whenever they will come to the platform where they get human body, at that time they should use that opportunity to make these inquiries and follow some spiritual process by restraining one's senses, by restraining one's activities, by purifying one's whole existence and coming closer to Krishna. So that by doing this, at least they can ensure that they don't fall down to the animal species again. And within human species also, even if they remain, they progress towards Krishna. They are in a progression towards Krishna rather than, going backwards towards the animal world. And while doing this, it is best if we do it in one go, in one lifetime, once we come to know about this. Because this is the region of Maya, and Maya is also extremely strong. The we are that we are surrounded by temptations all over, uh, and we may fall prey to any one of those temptations and may fall down and may trip from the path of devotional service. So hence we must not try and mess up by committing offenses, falling prey to our temptations, our desires, and our attachments. So one should be very careful. That is possible by strong association, by remaining in strong association of devotees. Now, strong association means physical association. That's why visiting temple becomes so important. That we must at least take physical association at least once a week, if not daily. And those who can't even avail that, they should not miss out on any yatras, because that's where you will be surrounded by devotees 24 hours, whatever the duration of yatra will be. You will be associating with devotees, you will be hearing Krishna Katha 24 hours practically. So that's where the strong association of devotees becomes important. For the association, by taking association, if we don't follow instructions, we will again mess up, because if we don't do right things, we will end up doing wrong things. So we should commit to the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and rendering practical services to the Lord and his devotees. By doing this, this is potent enough for us to attain Krishna in one lifetime itself, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So we talk about this slide every week. We have the facility for cultivating devotional service by chanting in the morning and reading from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in the evening at these times. I'll share the slides. Those who don't know of this can utilize this facility. And we have time for some question and answer before we close today's session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So you have
Hare
added
Krishna.
one more. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. You have just added one more feather to our cap, that you are trying to make us expert in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is very nectarian actually. And it is nectarian. It is not nectarian because of the literature written in it, but it is nectarian because the way devotees understand it, and they make other understand. So it is, as you asked the third question in that whether the shastras can be understood uh, at by one's own potency. So your classes are the answer for it, that one cannot understand. Even I read Bhagavad Gita once before coming to Krishna consciousness, even the Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada. But the I'm reading it again and again, and I'm finding it much better because of it is taught in some particular way by the devotees like you, Narottam Prabhuji, and other devotees. So it is always nectarian to be in your association, though that is online. But if it is possible physically, that is much better. But that is our misfortune that we can't associate you more oftenly, means in the physical level. So but all the endeavors of yours are just wonderful, means it is always relishable to hear to your session and add some kind of knowledge to our minuscule mind. So it is all your grace. Thank you very much for putting in all efforts and making us advance in the devotional services. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
Pranam.
Guruji. Thank you so much for all your kind words. I accept them on behalf of all our acharyas and gurus. Yeah. So any questions anybody may have, or else we can close today's session. We'll just go to the chat box. If you have any questions, you can mention in the chat box.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just one thing was that as you mentioned that based on the punya karmas, we get another life. Means there was a kind of discussion in between that based on our punya karmas, we get the lokas like Uddharam Gachanti, Sadvasta, and Madhyatishtanti, Rajsa, and all that. So after that, based on karmas, life is decided, that is fine. But uh, based on only on punya karmas, the devotional services, devotional life does not continue. I hope, means I heard it somewhere. So there was an ambiguity kind of thing, which I thought just to clarify from you that.
Yeah. So
Thank you very
based
much.
on
You could
our
share on that.
based on our punya karma, we can get some facility early in our life to again accept devotional service. But devotional service is a choice that we will always have to exercise. It doesn't happen automatically. It's not in autopilot mode. So we always, whenever we say we can choose devotional service, we can always implicitly we are saying that we can choose material sense enjoyment, objects of material sense enjoyment also, by rejecting devotional service, because devotional service will require some regulation. Devotional service will require, any authentic devotional service will require some kind of a regulation, some kind of followings of, so some kind of a sacrifice is required. If I have capacity to eat meat or non-veg or whatever, non-veg food, and I probably would have had it taken it in past, and I have capacity to pay, capacity to digest, capacity to, in spite of having all these capacities, if I'm choosing vegetarian diet, if I'm choosing no onion no garlic diet which is offered to Krishna, this is only possible, this is possible because of my higher knowledge. So so this sacrifice, one should be prepared to make sacrifices. So this is a sacrifice, because anything that I otherwise lawfully can enjoy, I'm giving it up for my, for some better higher knowledge, for some following, for sticking to my, adhering to my higher principle, I am giving up my lower happiness. Now performing sacrifice is a matter of choice, and that choice one may make, one may not be able to make, given falling prey to the tempting situations around you, around all of us. So that's a, so even though the facility is available to take up accept devotional service, one may fail to do so. And that can be, that can very well happen because of the environment in which we are brought up, the surrounding people with whom we live, and our own past impressions which may pop up from time to time, and which may ask us to commit those things which because of which those impressions exist. So um, so one may get more facility, more opportunity to pick up devotional service, but still that's a choice that a soul has to do, or it doesn't start automatically.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Yeah,
Prabhuji?
that clarified. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Because means the punyas has got ultimately no role in sense of devotional services, but it will give just the platform.
Just the
to take
platform,
it.
yeah, correct.
Yes,
That's
yes.
true.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one question, Harish, here.
Yes, Prabhuji.
What earlier I used to think is after 1,84,000 yonis, person gets, human life, Now today we talked about 84 lakh yonis, or 84 lakh type of species, living species. Can you just clarify how is this 1,84,000? Is it 1,84,000 out of 84 lakhs, or?
I don't know from where 1,84,000 has come in. So typically, Prabhuji, the way it operates is simple, that whenever activities become similar to those of animals, or those of animals, we have a potential to actually fall down into that animal species, and whichever animal species we may fall into, we progress gradually from there onwards till we reach human birth. Now this progression is not in the control of jiva. The soul is helpless in this process till it comes to, so its free will gets activated when it comes to human life. Typically, so this is a 1 lakh, it is no a reference to 1,84,000. If you refer to the verse there where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says 84 laksha yoni. So
Okay.
he talks about species of life, 84 lakh species of life, and along with that, but there are animal species which are far greater in number. So only 4 lakh are human, which means 80 lakhs are non-human. And wherever you could be initially, the soul could be in in whichever species where it currently is presently. For him to progress into human birth may take him millions and millions of lifetimes, and so that need not be necessarily limited to 1,84,000
Okay. Because
births.
that's what we used to have. Here that after 1,84,000 births, our soul gets the human life, So that's why I was having that dilemma. Whether
Okay,
it's
okay.
84 lakhs, 1,84,000 out of 84 lakhs, because out of 84 lakhs, I think 50% are non living. They are living, but like non-moving kind of thing.
Yeah, stavara. But even those are souls. For them to progress, for them the progress will be to become from stavara to jangama.
Okay.
Stavara are non-moving. For them, if they become jangama, moving, then that is progress. They become aquatics. They start moving here and there. They become birds. They can start flying here and there. They become insects. They can start going here and there. So for them, that will be also be progress. From bird, for aquatic, uh, somebody who lives on land can become a progress. So for them also, within them there could be little progression, but this progression is in the state of helplessness. They are
Yeah,
not
I mean,
uh,
none of these, except the human species, have any control on their actions
correct.
to rise
Discrimination
up to
they
this
don't
level.
have. Correct. So the possibility of capacity to discriminate is missing
Right,
in them, because of the very low level of consciousness.
right,
Animals can discriminate, but have very very weak capacity to discriminate.
right. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Harish Prabhuji. Thank you so much. There's a question: how should I control my anger and doubts? So the anger, doubt, they're all anarthas. So one can one can easily overcome anger by taking up to the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And the anger is all anger and envy goes together. We envy somebody, we feel angry about somebody, and when we feel angry about somebody, we become envious of that person. And the it can come from our attachments, it can come from our desires which are unfulfilled, it can come from our temptations which we don't get, we temptations which we get but don't give us the same pleasure that it had promised. So could be multiple reasons because of which we may get angry. But all we need to do is to control our mind, regulate our mind, and taking up to the process of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a is a mean given by Lord Chaitanya to regulate one's mind and purify one's mind, and eventually raise it to a level where it can perceive, it can understand Krishna Bhakti, and it can become fixed in following the process of devotional service. So anger can go, lust can go, as long as if we take up sincerely to the process of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the morning hours, especially at least before sunrise, at least for 1 hour if we can chant, depending on our schedule. But if we can take up to the process sincerely, this will change. Anger will go. All other, it has potency to transform an individual completely, whoever you could be, however fallen you could be. That is the potency that it has. It just requires, it's a free of cost, it's just require our sincerity, one bead bag and one bead bag and one japmala, and basic internet connection to join Zoom, where we all assemble and chant. And that's it. I mean, it's such a simple easy solution, and but it can solve all your problems. So the desires, we don't have to get rid of desires, we have to replace our desires. Our mind, we cannot empty our mind cannot become empty. So we have to so mind will always keep producing desires. So if you keep seeing, um if you keep seeing, if you're surrounded by uh, by tempting objects, you will get desires eventually to enjoy those tempting objects. So whoever, whatever you surround yourself with, you will cultivate desires for that eventually. And hence, if you surround yourself with devotees, if you surround yourself with auspiciousness, if you surround yourself with hearing and kirtan, hearing and listening, hearing and uh, hearing and chanting, then you will get those desires. So sometimes our desires can trigger from our past enjoyments. Sometimes our desires can trigger from the objects we see people enjoying, and we get desire to enjoy. So it could be triangular also. So we need to change our association. That's why in those two verses, what should not be done and what should be done, the association, point of association was emphasis quite very very strongly, that if you take wrong association, take association of worldly people, if we end up taking wrong association, we will eventually accept their desires. So their desires will get superimposed on our in our mind, and we will start liking what they are liking, and then eventually we will start doing what they are doing, and that way we will fall down. And hence we should be in association of devotees, and so that we can get devotion desires which devotees have. Some devotees may have desire to get up early in the morning and chant all 16 rounds and one go. Now that's a very auspicious desires to have, and no matter what happens in our life, we should associate with that devotee more. We should find out how he make adjustment in his lifestyle in such a way that he's able to get up every day early morning, and come to the chanting session, or come take up chanting, do chanting so nicely, so clearly. What are the how he regulate his mind while he's chanting, what is he prepare how is he preparing himself before he begin his chanting, what is it that you can implement, what is it that you can do, so that so this is association. Now you're changing desires. Now this person already relishes something, and you desire to relish that as well, and therefore you are associating with him and accepting, learning from him, and cultivating that. If you implement that, then you will yourself start relishing that same thing. So it depends on where we are looking. If you are looking outwards, then we will see what we see, and if you are looking inwards towards the devotees, towards Lord, then we will get those desires. So it's very important where we orient ourselves to, and that's how we will learn. Is Mirabai had desire for Krishna? I don't know if that is a question. But all devotees should desire Krishna. Krishna says, don't come to me desiring something else. Don't come to me desiring to pass in your BCom exam. Don't come to me desiring to pass in your whatever MBA exam, engineering exam, get a job, get a wife, get a child, get whatever, get a home, holiday home, whatever. Don't come to me with these desires कि मेरा business अच्छा चलने दो, मेरी factory अच्छी चलने दो, मेरे बच्चे हो, मेरे whatever, my kid should get married, my kid should live happily with his wife. ये सब desires लेके मत आओ. I am the supreme desirable object. So desire me. If you get me, you will be happy. That's the simple message of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, don't come to me asking for things. Come to me asking me. I will give myself to you if you do that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Project.
Prabhuji, one question about this desire. When we talk that we should not have any desires, but the question is, are there any good desires and bad desires? Like if I have a desire to be a doctor to serve humanity, it's considered as good desire. But if I want to be a doctor and the purpose is other than serving community, so it is another form of bad desire. So is good desire desirable, or desire itself is not desirable?
Yeah, so desires, you cannot help but desire it, because mind is not in fully our control. It cannot be. So there, mind will produce desires. There are things which mind does, and mind will continue to produce desires, no matter what, how much you try and control it. So the choice then you have is to produce. If the desires are going to be there, then why not have good desires? Good desires can be to have desires to serve Krishna, to love Krishna. Now, anything associated with Krishna can be termed as a good desire, where we are not going away from Krishna. You can have a desire to become a doctor, so that you can treat all souls who are part and parcels of Krishna. So they become healthy. They can start chanting and hearing Krishna Katha with more enthusiasm. If they happen to be sick, they will not be in a position to. They will be physically sick, mentally sick. They will not be in a position to concentrate on bhakti. So because you will deal with people, you will always and all people are part and parcel of Krishna. And when you see your profession in that view, then you're becoming a doctor. Your study of doctory, medicine study, and practicing of your medicine practice also can become devotional service, where you are treating every soul as a part and parcel of Krishna, and you are helping them becoming better, and then eventually you will hope you can you can hope that they become a nice devotees of Krishna. So if you happen to visit Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mira Road, so there in every ward they take Lord Jagannath, and they play nice kirtan. Depending on the intensity, the patients are nice, healthy. They also start participating. Their relatives, they clap, and then they pay obeisances. So Lord goes in every ward. They because they chant Hare Krishna Kirtan. Then there's somebody who is playing kartal, and then they go from ward to ward, patient to patient. Lord goes there and give darshan because they now all those patients who are admitted there are not devotees. However, the benefit is given that get your health and become devotees. Why not become devotees? You are getting cured by the mercy of Krishna. So doctor is only instrumental, but unless if mercy is not there, you will die right in front of the doctors. When his mercy is not there, no doctor can save you. No advanced medicine can save you. No advanced medical equipment can save you. So you're getting cured by the mercy of Krishna, by the sanction of Krishna. Doctor is an instrument to that. And so when doctors knows this, those can be that this can happen in a hospital, and this happens actually in the hospital, in a Bhaktivedanta hospital. So because the doctors don't take credit, but if I end up taking credit, if I start saying that everything happens because of me, and then I am taking myself away from Krishna, and I'm creating an illusion that will take the people who listen to me, they also away from Krishna, because then people will start believing that yes, this doctor is only saving, Krishna has no role, and they will be misled. So a doctor, so there's no control. So we should cultivate good desires. There is no way we can have an empty mind where there are no desires. That's practically impossible state. So why not then cultivate good desires to love and serve Krishna?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we have no more questions. We can end today's session. Stay Krishna conscious throughout the week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As Haresh Prabhuji was mentioning that 50% are non-human, and once His Grace Narottam Priya Prabhuji was explaining that how Namachari Haridas Thakur was chanting. So though our level is not closer to the chanting, means nowhere, like there is no comparison type, but the way Haresh Prabhuji chants the so clear chanting, and so there is a credit to him. Actually, I just want to give him a credit that whatever trees or other sour jivas are living near to his houses, they will get elevated because of his chanting, because they will be hearing vibration. So that credit goes to Haresh Prabhuji.
Thank you,
So thank
Prabhuji.
you for that chanting.
So nice of you.
And the way you are enriching us with the spiritual knowledge, Prabhuji, thank you very much. And with a prayerful mood to Lord Krishna, that your devotional service grows day by day, rather moment by moment, and so that you can keep enriching us also in the same mood. I would request all the fellow devotees so that we can offer our obeisances to you by chanting one Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Please unmute and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thanks, Surji. Dandavat Pranam, everyone. Hare Krishna.